that's the key, right? And he's another one of those guys. And I like the fact that when you look at the other backs they're looking at, and we kind of transition into the what's next, right? So as we look at the what's next aspect of running back recruiting at Notre Dame, there's really 2 players on the board as of right now. Now, there's some other guys that I've heard that maybe they're talking to is like, let's see how it goes here and all that kind of thing, because they would like a second back in this class. But the top 2 on the board right now are Jeremiah Love and Richard Young. And if you look at the trio, right, and we'll talk about where things stand in a second. We're just going to talk about where they are as players in the fit. If somehow Notre Dame were to pull off one of the biggest recruiting upsets of the last 20 years, in my opinion, and get Richard Young, which I think we would all agree on that, right, if we're being honest, that would give them, and get Jeremiah Love, it would give them 3 uniquely different players. Richard Young is more of a big, thick, every down, big-time back. Jayden is the third down, can also be a first and second down back, gives you the pass catching, the pass blocking, the ability to catch out of the backfield. And then Jeremiah Love is your Dexter Williams. He's your guy that only needs 7 carries to get to 100 yards. Remember how Dex was in 2017? He had, I think he was like 36 carries and like 360 some yards. It was like 9 point something per carry. That's Jeremiah Love. And it is interesting when you combine the 3 of them. It does give me a similar feel to a better version of what Notre Dame had in 2017 when you had Josh Adams as your guy. You had Tony Jones Jr., who was kind of your do-it-all guy. And then you had Dexter Williams, who was your home run hitter, right? And you have that kind of unique combination of skills. That trio would do it. But at the same time, if you only get 2 of them, you're still getting complementary players. So Jeremiah Love is interesting because he's a guy that Notre Dame was looking at from the standpoint of, we're just going to recruit him as an athlete. Right. Mm-hmm. And because we just like him. You can't turn down that 6'1", you can't turn down that speed, you can't turn down that playmaking ability, and we need to have more success in St. Louis. That's the thought process for Notre Dame, which check in agreement, right? All of it. So you recruit him. Well, now that Cedric Irvin's not in the class, now you can talk to Jeremiah Love as like, no, now we get a chance to play where we really like you the best, which is running back. We get to start you where we like you the best, which is running back. And I think that's certainly going to help their recruitment. And then you look at what the potential 1-2 punch was of Cedric Irvin and Jayden Limar. I still think it would have been tough to convince Jeremiah Love to come here to Notre Dame in that scenario. I think as much as he likes Notre Dame, I still think he wants to be a running back. And I think it'd be tough to convince him of that. And I think that would have been the one thing that maybe could have hurt their chances. But now you look at it and you say, okay, now you talk about it. And the thing I didn't love about that 1-2 punch is I feel Cedric Irvin and Jayden Limar are basically the same guy, except Jayden's a little better. But they bring very similar skills to the table. Brian, you've seen Cedric in person. I mean, are they different guys? Do they bring a whole lot different to the table? Or to me, they're very similar players as far as the impact they're going to have on the depth chart and the roles they're going to have in the offense?
Limar is definitely stronger. I didn't realize how much potency he had in the upper body. Cedric has more speed than I thought, but of course I'd seen him last fall. Then I went to a practice a couple of weeks ago. He can scoot, but he just doesn't have the upper body power, and he's not a traditional running back. He's a spread running back and a guy you put in the slot. Now,
which is the same role that Jayden Limar is basically going to be playing.
But he's just offense. Between the tackles, Jayden's going to be a better player
right.
for college.
But that's kind of my point, though, right? Like, you're not going to use Jayden on things and then use Cedric for something completely different. They're kind of the same guy, right? Yeah. And that's kind of my point is where when you look at Jayden Limar, and now if you're able to land Jeremiah Love and put those 2 together, and if you're not on the message board, you need to get on there because we had a really long update the other day and we had some interesting Jeremiah Love stuff in there. But you add those 2 guys together, now all of a sudden you've got a shifty, slotty type of running back that can be effective between the tackles, who to me can be a 12 to 15 carry per game guy. I think Jayden Limar, Brian, to your point, he's got that thick lower body.
Yeah.
He's going to keep filling out. He can be a plus touch guy. And then you've got Jeremiah Love, who is that guy that he only needs 10 touches to do what other guys do on 15, right? And he brings some length and some different skills to the table. And you see a much better 1-2 punch with that duo than what you would have seen with an Irvin Limar duo. And I think that just gives them a chance for an even better running back depth chart or running back class, I should say, in 2023 than you would have, even though Cedric Irvin's a 4-star caliber recruit and a nice player that I liked, but he was always going to be the lowest ranked guy in the class. I can't say that that's going to be true of Jayden Limar. And I know that's not true because I'm already going to have him ranked ahead of at least one guy in the class right now. So I think this sets up the potential. The move of Irvin coming out of the class and adding Limar get you back to 13, but your 13 now is better than what your 13 was a week ago, in my opinion.
Quick note as a sidebar to the state of Washington, Philip Riley did live up there for a while. He was there for a year or two.
That's right. He kind of lived all over the place. That's right. But he played his
stepdad's military.
What was last year in Washington? Was it sophomore or junior year? Sophomore years?
He moved down here by me about 30 minutes from where I live, beginning of his junior year, and he had 0 offers. Nobody knew who he was. Into the year, he had like 35.
And then obviously there's Richard Young, right? Richard Young's the last part of this one.
I could do an hour show on Richard Young. Literally, nobody's seen him more than me, and I know him well. That is not normal. Here's the scary part. When I went to see him a couple of weeks ago, it was right before Notre Dame started recruiting him. Of course, it's Florida. 3 o'clock, what's it do? It rains, it lightning as soon as frickin' practice starts. Richard, myself, and some other people go inside, and they're working on film. They're changing their whole set of what they're going to do. He hadn't been coached all that great, and they were changing everything because they didn't like anything they were doing, and he's arguably the best running back, power back in the country, and doing everything wrong. So his eyes were down when he got the ball, wrong angle, hadn't been taught how to catch the ball.
You can see him like reaching for the ball on high school film.
I mean, lots of things. So unfortunately for the players in that area of Fort Myers, you're going to get run over more next year. So good luck to you. Richard's as motivated as a kid as I've ever seen. I watched him squat 490 when he was 15. So he's literally, nobody was near the rack. He was by himself. So he is very, very motivated.
Kid's a freak, man. He's a freak.
Yeah.
He is he's a scarily built player for his age.
Like he looks like he's a college senior.
He doesn't look like he leaves the weight room. Like he's just that type of dude.
He was the exact same thing, 8 or 9 pounds less when he was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was 190 when he was 15. Was 0 body fat.
He is an strong, explosive dude, to say the least. He's got pretty good speed too. I was surprised. I was like, hey, he can scoot a little bit.
He doesn't have a first step gear yet. That's one thing he's working on. But once he takes that second step, if he's going north south, you're making business decisions as a tackler.
Yeah. Yes.
I've seen that from a vertical. Him run through the hole. Oof.
That's one thing that him and Jeremiah Love both have is I don't think Love has the most sudden first step either, but when he gets to his second gear, he can fly.
Oh yeah, Love. You can punch the ticket there, buddy. You can strike up the band. Yeah, it's 6. So yeah, not many people are like Richard though with the power with that speed. That's why he had 30 offers before his sophomore year or some crap like that. It was ridiculous. That's fun.
I think for me, if we're going to talk about a realistic 1-2 punch at running back, I feel a lot better about Notre Dame having a really good 1-2 punch at running back now than I did 2 weeks ago, just because of the potential of getting Limar and Love compared to Irvin and Limar, in my opinion.
Wow.